Uh-oh, we're live.
It looks as though we are live. If you're logging on, this live stream from Fishing BC will live air through the Facebook and YouTube platforms and will stay embedded. So if you aren't catching this live stream to the minute, you could be watching it after the fact. Today, I'm joined with Kat Laflamme.
Hi.
Did I pronounce that right, Kat?
Yep.
Awesome. And Gill Steele. And maybe just let the viewers know where you're broadcasting from live tonight.
I'm at my house in Port Coquitlam.
Kat's logging on from Poco, and Gill?
I'm logging on from North Van.
From North Van, and I'm logged on from just across the shoreline at Quilchena from Nicola Lake. Hey, you guys just shot this past summer a video with Doug Mooring up in the Caribou. Maybe Kat, just let the viewers know about that video. It just aired yesterday. It's spectacular.
Yeah. So I think we filmed it. It was maybe June or July, and we went on this epic adventure with Doug. He took us in. I mean, it was only supposed to be an hour drive and an hour quad, or no, 45 minutes. He said, and it had to have been like a 2-hour truck ride and a 2-hour ATV ride into the middle of nowhere, north of Quesnel, to the Blackwater, and it was incredible. Wonderful. Worth every minute. Absolutely amazing.
And Gill, you guys had shot before up in that area, correct?
Yeah, the year previous we went up and we were fishing up in the Canham Lakes area, and we had the opportunity to fish a lake up there as well as fish on the Canham River as well, which was fantastic the year before. So had a little bit of a interaction up there in the Caribou and now up in that Quesnel area. So yeah, it's been a pretty cool up in that interior far from where we're from.
Super. Yeah, it's just that Caribou region is spectacular. I think best thing for us to do is just let's have that video air right now. So this is with Kat and Gill. They're fishing with Doug Mooring up on the Caribou Rivers fishing adventures in the Caribou at the Blackwater. Let's have a look at it right now.
So we're going to go about 135 kilometers west of Quesnel here, and then we're going to do about an hour journey by ATV into the Blackwater. We'll do some creek crossings. It's a real adventure. You know, the neat part about the adventure is every time it's different. You don't know what's going to happen.
I'm going to take the side-by-side in, think about a 45-minute ride and get down to the river.
As we get in here to Kleskoya Lake Park in Cheyenne Falls, it's spectacular dry fly fishing, because that's what the whole trip's about out here.
Yeah, this is extreme. We made it in. It was a bumpy ride, slow ride, fun ride. We got in here and water looks really good, and I think we're gonna have a great afternoon.
I've had some customers in the past that had fished the Blackwater, and it's always been on the list anyway. That's way out in the middle of nowhere, nobody fishing it. You're the only ones floating the river, and the trout are so keyed in on the bugs that are hatching. It's just one after the other.
Oh, that's a nice one, Kat. That's a fat one. Oh. I've definitely heard about the Blackwater in terms of the wild fish and just the aggressiveness of them. I'd heard that it was good fishing, but I don't think I'd really comprehended how good of fishing it was, or the actual numbers of fish that you could achieve in a day.
You've got every type of insect pretty much known to man mixing out there. So there's constant food supply. The fish are super aggressive, is what the Blackwater strain's known for.
Oh! Oh, he missed it! Yeah, he missed it though. Bugger. They are flying. Come back for that one. I Doug Mooring is one of the most professional and authentic guides.
Dry flies are coming off. I'm excited.
He goes above and beyond for fishing and the camp setup.
Or every camp we have has got a great fishery around it. So see a camp for the mate out front, fantastic fishing.
So we decided today we aren't counting fish because you can't. So we're going to count double headers. Jill and I have been fishing together, I'd say 3 years now. And we realized that we mesh really well together. It's not competitive at all in the river. We're helping each other out all the time. We're having a blast.
Oh, look at that! Twins!
It's really easy with Jill. So it's been a lot of fun.
I know Doug really loves to share the Blackwater with people and just takes a lot of pride in seeing other people catch fish.
It's one of those things I just enjoy doing. It's a fly fishing only fishery, so the fish stocks are healthier now than they were in the 70s. And the fish here may never see a fly in their lifetime, which is a really unique thing on a river.
You guys, that was awesome.
Oh, it just makes me all warm and fuzzy inside.
What a
Yeah.
blast.
Like
I love the
reliving
part
it.
when it's like we're not going to count fish anymore, we're going to count double headers. That could tell
Yeah.
you, that tells you about the Blackwater, right?
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite shots from that is the very first shot that you see us when we're in the truck, and we just look like little kids and we just look so excited. But at that point, we really don't have an idea of what we're kind of stepping into. And I think that's just such a, it's an authentic view of like, I just feel like we look like little kids and we're so excited we're going on this adventure. And then once you're there, it's really remarkable. And I love that first shot of us in the truck. It makes me kind of smile because I know what's coming for us and it's really fun.
Even the whole ATV or the side-by-side ride, oh my gosh. It was way longer than we expected, but I was so blown away by what those machines can go through. Holy smokes. It's a gnarly side-by-side ride. It's quite the ride. That alone is worth it. But it gets you so pumped.
You could see too the mud. It was muddy and that black, like greasy mud. It was the real trip going in there.
We
Not
crossed,
a dry
I
August road.
think we crossed like 3 creeks.
Well, I think there was a conversation too right at the beginning. Should we wear our waders in the side-by-side or shouldn't we? And Doug's like, you should probably put your waders on. And we're like, how bad is it? And he's like, yeah. Jeanette, his wife his girlfriend was like, you should put the waders on. Like, we're going to need the waders. And so that was the decision that was made, and it was the right call.
She was hilarious too. She was such a champ sitting in the front seat, just getting like whacked by branches left and right.
That's the way to go in though on a side-by-side. Just start the adventure like that. That's tricky to film that too. Like keep everything not bouncing all over the place and mud off the equipment.
Yeah.
What a sweet way to roll in. Since you're saying, Jill, it made you feel like kids. A lot of people ask, especially on live feeds or interviews, where fishing started. For most people, was it in their childhood? And maybe I'll just start with Jill. Explain where fishing kind of came into your life and how that all evolved.
Yeah, fishing has always been a part of my life. I was very, very blessed to have a father that was very much into fishing. And I mean, Brent, you know my dad quite well. You've known him for a long time too. But, my dad has always been into fishing and came home one day to my mom and said I bought a fishing store. So when we were kids, camping was never, we didn't go on family vacations to Disneyland. We went camping, and that was always revolved around some sort of water body. So we were kind of thrown into it at a very early age. We were never forced to enjoy it or forced to like it. I mean, one of my favorite stories is my dad said, having two young girls, that he'd row all the way out in the lake, and we'd get halfway out there and we'd say, like, I want to go in. And my dad never forced us there. He said, okay, and he'd row us all the way back in, and then over time we built it up and we slowly learned to love it, and it was just always a part, and then a part of our childhood. And then as we grew older, we came back to it or went through fishing or periods of time through our lives, but it was always there for us. And I ended up working at the shop and slowly kind of moving my way more into the industry that way, and working alongside my dad, which I'm very fortunate to have done, and just have always fallen in love with it. So very lucky, I think.
Awesome. And of course, Kat, the same question would be interesting to hear from your end, where fishing started for you in your life, and where it's come to now.
Yeah, like a lot of the same thing. My parents always went camping growing up. Obviously my dad isn't as great of a fisherman as yours is, but he loved fishing lakes. So we'd always go camping every weekend. I remember from May till September, they would take us out of school at noon on Fridays in May and June. And every weekend we'd go camp for the weekend, and usually at a lake. My dad's a big lake guy. And, growing up, he'd give us a $20 Barbie spinning rod for me and my sister, and he'd put a worm on it for us. And I absolutely hated worms. And my dad would, have his fly fishing stuff. He'd open up his beautiful fly box full of feathers and furs. And as a little girl, it always amazed me. And I don't want to do that. Screw these worms. They're disgusting. So anyway, as I got older, I begged and begged my dad to teach me how to fly fish. And at the age of 12, he finally cracked. And we went to Walmart. He bought me a $50 fly rod. And that was kind of it. It was always this thing that I couldn't have growing up, being able to fly fish. So I think it just made me want it more by the time he let me. So the obsession kind of started from there. I got when I got my driver's license, I was driving to the river after school, skipping classes, that sort of stuff. And then out of high school, I got a job at Michael & Young Fly Shop. Was working there part-time while I was going to Capilano. And then I got a part-time job with April Vokey for Flag Owl Ventures out of the program I did at Capilano. And then I was kind of doing both, working at the shop and working for April for a few years. And then I worked for Flag Owl Ventures for 3 years, and then did a bunch of traveling with April, and then came back, needed money. So I just got a full-time job at Michael & Young and stayed there ever since.
You guys are both working in fly shops at the same time, out fishing your brains out and filming and putting out content. It's pretty cool. I'm gonna go back to that video a little bit. Let's talk about Doug Mooring and Caribou River Fishing Adventures. What kind of Doug is a totally magnetic guy. Every time I talk to Doug and meet Doug, he just can't get enough of Doug. How was that with the camp setup and all that? That's that part and those scenes where you can kind of see behind the, in the evenings and the camping and the whole the tent setup. Maybe Jill, talk a little bit about how the setup was for that shoot.
Doug, he has it dialed in. Like we got there, and I mean, they've got, it's all kind of set up. He's got a tent. They make your food for you. You walk in, they provide these beautiful little tents for you that you go in. You got air mattresses. You pretty much just bring your sleeping bag. But Doug is such a character, and he does everything just so well. It's not a super you're going to go and you're going to be glamping by any means. However, you are very comfortable. You are taken care of to the highest extent. And it's really an experience, I would say. It's not something that's fabricated to be this kind of ultra bougie thing. You are out there and you are living it, but it's done very, very well. And Doug is unreal. I talked to him the first day I talked to him on the phone. I was like, this guy's going to be great. I think the first night that we were there, I mean, we sat at the dinner table and we talked for hours. That guy can talk, but he's such a great storyteller. And he's just so authentic, and he's just such an interesting character that you could just listen to for hours and hours and hours. And his life experience and his stories are just fantastic. And that's what makes it. Because in camp, there's never a dull moment. You're never just, standing around. They're handing you these plates of food. It's really something else. And that camp experience that they did, they had it dialed, and their guys that they have working for them too are just fantastic. I can't speak to that enough as well.
Without it. So the Blackwater, Cat, kind of an amazing system. Was that camp set up for pullouts, or was there beats that you guys would drive up to and drift down? Explain how a few days with Doug mooring on the Blackwater goes.
Yeah, so we only had one night. So we just rode into the top like where they usually start their 5-day floats. So the first spot, the first camp, and we fished the falls stretch all day. And typically they would start there, fish that the first day, I believe, and then float down the next day to the next camp. And I think they have like 3 or 4 camps set up along the way. We didn't do that. We just stayed at the first camp. Obviously, time wasn't on our side for that trip, but that's okay. It was absolutely incredible. We fished in the boat the first day, and then the second day we actually hiked up above the falls and fished all through the falls stretch, which was incredible. Really, really cool river. I mean, you can tell from the video why it's called the Blackwater. It's really dark, but the water's crystal clear. It's crazy. Definitely not a river you want to wade. We attempted to, and it's extremely slippery, and you don't know where you're stepping. The water, it's really dark. The bottom, like the rocks, are black, and you can't see where you're stepping. So fishing from a raft and doing the floats that they do are definitely recommended.
That's funny that you mentioned that. The first thing I thought of when I saw the aerial shots of a few of those breaks there and that one tail is like, look how black the Blackwater is. It looks so cool from the air, and then you see the side profile, like the underwater release shots, and it's not. It's clear. That's pretty cool. Look, we have a question coming in from Q4570. What were your best symbols you used on the trip?
It's a
bug. It's a bug. Actually, we were talking about flies before the feed started, so I'm gonna leave that to you guys to engage on immediately.
I will say I'll let Kat show the before, but pretty much anything worked. We did find that there was a couple that worked a little bit maybe better. Essentially high profile dry flies. We used, what do we use? We used stone flies. We used tons of different things, but we
big
do
bushy stimulators.
Big profile. We did find one that showed work. And Kat, maybe you can show the before.
Okay.
This
is
before
what it was
fly.
like before. Jill sells them. I mean, you guys sell them at your shop. I'm not sure the actual name. It's like a skinny version of a Chernobyl ant. That's what it looked like before. Red, very, red foam. Sorry, my phone's a little messed up. Red underbody, orange grizzly barred legs, and just like a white wing, a little bit of yellow on top, but really bright red.
that red fly just killed it. And I actually have the one that I used for the majority of the trip. And if you can see it, there's not really much left on it. And it's all completely chewed. There's like almost no body left on it, but that was kind of the one. But essentially high profile red body dry fly. And this fly I kept it because I fished this until the very last day looking just like this, and it was still catching fish. I mean, those things are so aggressive. It was wild. So
unreal. So
I think you
obviously,
stopped using it because you didn't want to lose it,
Yeah, I think you're
but
right.
it was still working.
It was still working. It's
that's
all
a
messed
keeper
up.
for sure.
Yeah, I have it on the wall.
Then what size is that? It's hard to tell, like, because like when the phone goes forward, but
It's
Probably like a 6.
yeah, it's a
that's
pretty big
massive.
fly. They were not shy. I mean, the small flies they'd hit it so hard too. I mean, we literally had fish, you'd be skating flies along the surface and they're missing them going over it. So, they were not wary of a big fly, a number 6, a number 8, not worried about it at all. In fact, you were having fish that were missing small flies because they were just hammering it so hard they just get absolutely lost. So it was pretty wild.
A lot of the times I noticed they would jump and then eat your fly on the way down, which I've never seen before, but they would fire like rocket ship out of the water and then try to eat your fly on the drop, which is wild. Usually fish eat it as they're coming up. It was so insane.
Without a doubt. Now that's trickier too. It's almost like you have to wait that split second so it's taut before you set up on it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the longest split second in the world.
Yeah, they miss a lot, but it's really fun to watch them try.
Now on a trip like that, you can tell obviously when you get there, you're like, okay, this is completely a dry fly trip. We're gonna just fish surface flies. We're gonna stick to that. We're not gonna. Is that how that trip went? You didn't even have to worry about drifting nymphs or indicating or anything. It was just this is a dry fly trip.
We tried to get them on nymphs just to see, but honestly, you were better off using a dry any day. It was crazy. Wow. They did not like the underwater stuff.
Wow, what a place.
Yeah.
I think actually Doug, if I can quote Doug, I think Doug's whole thing was nymph is a dirty word. I'm pretty sure that was his whole thing, and he's like, nope, just dry fly it. We brought nymph setups, but you didn't need them. It was more just to see what you could. But yeah, he said nymph's a dirty word to me, so I don't want to hear it pretty much. I think the other really cool thing about up there too, which you don't see as much down here, but fishing the foam lines and fishing in those big back eddies full of foam. I mean, you toss a big fly out through this big, just white foam, and you're stripping it through, and that fly is just moving through, and you're having fish hammer it through the foam, which is, once again, just something that you don't see a lot here, but it was just fantastic. Just super unique fishery.
We got pike minnow on dry or in the foam lines too on dries, which is super crazy. Big pike minnow.
Wow,
that's
so
right.
Like, everything's concentrating on those foam slicks. And, wow. Crazy. We got another question popping in from Rachel Sorceval. Oh. Forgive me, Rachel, if I pronounced your last name incorrectly. And Kat, we'll have you answer this. What time of the year did you go?
I actually looked at my phone, like my photos the other day because I couldn't remember. But it was right when it opened in the middle of June. I think it was like June 15th, and I believe it opens June 14th.
Gotcha.
Something like that.
Hence the greasy roads too, going in with the side-by-sides. It's June's super wet in the Caribou. You guys shot together, both Jill and Kat. You guys did a shoot for Fishing BC. I think it was the year before. Talk a little bit about that too. So, just if people are looking back at some of the other Fishing BC videos, you're going to come across another caribou video. Maybe Jill, talk about that first shoot while we're all here together.
That first shoot was something else. That was kind of really one of the first times that actually trout fishing the caribou really hard. I mean, the caribou has always been a pass through, similar to Quesnel in a lot of ways. You're going up north, you're going steelhead fishing, you're kind of just blasting through that area. So to actually get to spend time there was really cool. We fished some of the lakes and around the Canham Lake area. And then we also fished the outflow of Canham Lake between the Canham River between Canham and Mahood Lake, which was unbelievable. I mean, that was truly something that I will never forget, and a fishery that's really, really, really cool. Those lakes up there, I mean, there seemed to be a lake at every turn when we were up in that neck of the woods, and the fishing there, I mean, if we had a week, I don't think we would have even touched on what the potential is just for that one little area around there. And it was really with that trip too, it was cool to be able to do a lake one day and then the next day go and do the river. So that was, within a weekend to be able to go and have two completely different fisheries that are totally unique but very productive and just really unreal and totally, I mean, we didn't really see much in the way of pressure and people, and it was just stunning. I can't say enough about that caribou trip.
Yeah, and it's amazing if you think about it too. There's not a lot of opportunities where you can hit premium still waters in BC and also time them with almost peak opening seasons on moving waters like that. Yeah, there's the caribou has so many opportunities, and it's all just, people are just starting to learn about all these diverse fisheries and literally thousands of lakes too, alongside of all those creeks and rivers. It's spectacular. We're going to have you talk about the fishery, like the wild aggressive strain of fish. We talked about some of the dry flies and the multi-day floats, but talk about those fish that were in the black water. I mean, they look different too. And the quantities, is there something that you noticed different other than those takes, Kat, with those fish?
Yeah, they're definitely, it's funny how certain rivers, like the color of the water affects the color of the fish, essentially. Like they camouflage, right? So these fish were actually quite a bit darker than what you'd expect, but super spotted, absolutely stunning. They're not very big. I know Doug said there was some bigger ones closer down to where it meets the Fraser, but extremely plentiful. They're beautiful, really aggressive, beautiful fish. Yeah.
And how many places, like you said in the video, are you counting doubles? Like,
Well,
I think more than anything, the notoriety for that body of water is how many fish can hold in that system. And
yeah.
wasn't there a scene there, Jill, I think, where you had one misfire and you're laughing, and then suddenly you can see that that's the exact same scene where your line's streaking out.
Yeah, that was funny because essentially if they miss it, you just leave it. They're not shy. They're not, that fish is coming back, or there's so many fish, like the density there is unreal. So if that one didn't get it, another one's going to come. So it was actually kind of tough because if you had one miss, your initial thing is to kind of, bring it back, cast again, but it's just leave it and keep letting it swing because another one's going to come for it. So in that shot, essentially, I kind of pull up, but I just kind of mend, let it keep going, and another one, they'll come back for it. So those fish are crazy, and I think Doug says it too. And one thing that I think is really unique to that place, essentially too, is some of those fish have never seen a fly, and that's something to kind of wrap your head around that we don't get to think about a lot, or we don't necessarily consider a lot. Like some of those fish have never been casted to before, and so it does make them, the Blackwater strains, the Blackwater strain for a reason. And we got to see that firsthand. But to be able to fish over fish that have literally never been casted to, or maybe have never seen an artificial presentation before is really cool. It's just an opportunity that's unique for sure.
Yeah, without a doubt too. And counting double headers, I mean, that's just a sign of how well the populations are in the quantities. There's not a lot of places and fisheries where you can count double headers instead of just single fish. It's incredible. While you're still talking, Jill, you guys, yourself and Kat, have put together something that's really unique, and that's the Women's Fly Fishing Group. Let's go back and talk about maybe the early stages when you were, putting this group together, and then maybe we'll have Kat talk about what's happening now with it.
For sure. And that's been kind of a developing and an ongoing thing that we're very proud of, in the sense that we've created such a network of friends and ladies that are connecting through fly fishing. Essentially how it started is Kat and I, back in the day, both of our boyfriends at the time were guiding up north, and saltwater guides, and they would be away for the summertime, and we were both in a similar situation, and we kind of got together through that mutual relationship, and we found out that we both really enjoy trout fishing, which for them at the time, they maybe not their favorite thing to do, and we always joked if it didn't go to the ocean they really didn't care, but at the time it worked out, and we were like, hey, we're in the same situation, we're both kind of alone all summer. You know, now we have like this kind of mutual friend that understands our position. So we started fishing together and we were having a great time and we really bonded, and we kind of realized that, you know, when we fished together, it was different, and it was different for various reasons. You know, it was easy, it was fun, we shared the same things. It was not like, oh, you caught 100, I caught one, who cares? It was kind of this bond, and we thought, you know, like, wow, we're so lucky. We wish that, you know, we're lucky because we've had lots of opportunities in our lives, having families and stuff, but we want every female angler to feel like they could have this. And how do we kind of facilitate that? And what can we do to give other ladies kind of this opportunity and this feeling of going out? So we were on a trip. We were actually coming back from fishing the Thompson one day, and I think Kat said to me, she goes, you know, I kind of want to, like, maybe we should start a group. And I said, you know what? I've been thinking kind of the same thing. And we were all of a sudden on the same page, and it just kind of snowballed from there. And we created a group, and we started a Facebook page, and we do trips. And well, we did do more prior to COVID, of course, but, you know, and fly tying nights and casting lessons. And we just started kind of networking. And the whole idea was just to get women together and create friendships and create bonds and create a safe space where ladies could ask questions about waders. They could ask about fishing. There's no judgment. There's no nothing. You come in, it's a group, you can go fishing. The other thing too is a lot of ladies want to go on a trip, but, you know, like just signing up for a rent to go with a guide out in the bush might not be super comfortable for you. So, hey, if I say I got 4 ladies, they're all going out together, you might not know them, but it creates a sense of comfort. So just that networking and just kind of promoting that women community for fly fishing, that's kind of where it started, and it just kind of rolled from there. And it's been unreal, and we are so proud and happy of the community that's there, and we've really had such a great time meeting all these wonderful women.
So Kat, maybe it's such a cool thing that you guys have you know, conceived and that it's active right now. Maybe go through some of the trips and the scenarios that has taken place with the women's fly fishing group, just so people get a kind of an understanding of, you know, some of the trips and the field trips and so forth.
Yeah, so our trips, a lot of them are just short little day trips or in and around the Lower Mainland, and we usually try to book through, like, we do guided trips with a local company, or try to spread the love with local guides. But we work with BC Fly Fishing Charters. Curtis takes us on a few trips throughout the year. One coming up is the Lillooet for cutthroat trout, and then we'll do the Upper Pit with him for bull trout in June and July, and then we'll go with Cromer sport fishing in the fall for salmon, sometimes in the winter. What else? This year we did a couple trips up to Northern Lights Lodge, so that one's a little bit longer. I think we did a 4-day trip there. Twice, once in August, once in October. That one's a little bit more expensive, but phenomenal. Like the Blackwater, it's another absolutely incredible dry fly fishery. And so the ladies get the whole lodge experience there. But the other thing is, you know, you're stuck in a lodge with 10 other ladies for a weekend, and you really get to grow those friendships and those connections. And they come back and they're like, oh, you know, like, so-and-so's from the same city I'm from, like, let's go fishing. And same thing with the day trips. They really help make those connections. You know, you're stuck in a jet boat with 4 other ladies all day fishing and doing something that you guys are all passionate about. It does grow those connections, and we do see a lot of friendships come out of it, which is amazing. With COVID, it's been a lot harder to do the courses that we typically do. You know, fly casting, we used to do fly tying nights like once a month or once every 6 weeks. That's been a lot harder to do, but Gill started doing some Zoom courses, Zoom like seminars, fly tying courses on Zoom. So that's been actually really good. I mean, it's a BC women's fishing group, so we do have like members from all over the province and some from out of the province too. So the Zoom stuff's actually been great for connecting ladies from all over the place, not just from where we are. and where we can access. So it's been great in that respect. And we've got some cool stuff coming up too. I think not this Wednesday, next Wednesday, Kaylee Clay, who is one of the head fishing designers for Patagonia, and two of her coworkers are doing a sort of ladies fly fishing apparel talk, and they're going to ask us a bunch of cool questions about what we think about waders and blah blah blah. So hopefully we get a bunch of ladies sign in for that. We've got some trips up the Lillooet coming up, and then we'll go from there. Hopefully some lake fishing trips and that sort of stuff. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
That's great. I mean, it's really cool to do that. And is the Jill, maybe I'll pass it over to you. Is the group expanding? Are you seeing now that slowly, over time, people are bonding and more relationships are forming, and the group keeps getting bigger? And what's the best way, when you're answering that, for ladies that are watching this feed or end up following this video after when it's posted, to sign up or get a hold of you guys with this?
Yeah, for sure. So we have a Facebook group, and the Facebook group is growing actually quite. I'm looking at it right now. We have 670 members. So that's pretty cool. That's a lot of ladies throughout BC. And the other thing too that we kind of do is you can kind of interact as much as you want. I mean, obviously a lot of the stuff that we do here is limited to people that are around here, but you can interact, you can kind of partake as much as you want. So there's no obligation. You can kind of chat, and it's free and open, and that's kind of what we've wanted it to be. So we have a Facebook group, which is a closed group, but you can join. You just have to answer a couple of questions, and that's BC Women's Fly Fishing Group. You can find on Facebook. You can also, if you don't have Facebook, you can also join our mailing list, and I send emails out every once in a while when we have some stuff coming out. So, and that's bcwomensflyfishing@gmail.com. You can also email that, and we have, if you have questions or if you just want to get on our mailing list, I can add that, or we can add you to that as well. So that's kind of the best way to connect with us. You can also probably connect with either Kat and I direct on Facebook or Instagram, and we're always open. We're here. We try and make ourselves available. If we can't answer something, we will find somebody that can answer a question for you too. We certainly don't consider ourselves like the expert all-know-all on everything, but we will do our best to kind of connect you with who we think can give you a hand for sure.
Awesome. I love what you guys are doing, and coming from the shop background, you have a lot of experience, and you know how to talk to beginners and people looking at getting into the sport, and that sometimes is stressful enough. I mean, we've all worked in shops, and we know when you're going into it, starting a new hobby or an industry, it's pretty intimidating. So being able to arrive at the shops that you both work at, and come in and ask questions and not feel that is already the first step into a whole adventure of being a fly fisher. I'm gonna ask you, Kat, what's your next fishing trip planned?
Personally, or through the group?
Personally.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What do we got? I mean, I've been kind of going out every weekend just locally, but as far as big trips, Jill and I are gonna go on the few Lillooet trips we have planned for the group coming up in the next few weeks. And then we did a pretty epic trip to Fernie last summer. I think we're gonna have to redo that this summer probably, and maybe add a few more days, maybe explore some other rivers. So that's sort of the one big trip I think we have planned this summer. And then I don't know, we'll see. Lots of local stuff. I'm dying to get out on the lakes this spring, so there'll be a lot of that happening for sure.
And Jill, what's the next? What are some of the trips coming up for you, other than the ones that are crossed in with the fly fishing group?
I'm not fully sure. I'm kind of back in school right now, so my life kind of revolves around that. I think once I'm done in May, so once that kind of goes, definitely looking forward to some lake trips. I might have an opportunity to go to the Cowichan if that still goes on, but obviously COVID puts a bit of a issue on that. But yeah, probably just some lake trips when we get into it. I mean, I really look forward to lake season. I think once school's done, I'm going to just be itching to get out on the water more than or kind of what I'm used to, as opposed to like once every couple weeks or so. Yeah, nothing super massive planned. We're very lucky to have the women's group trips, and like I said, Kat and I have been kind of talking back and forth about what we want to do this summer, and we kind of try to book like a little week for like us and like our little like week, what we're gonna do, and it's whether we do like something new or we go to like another bucket list place or something like that. So we're just kind of like feeling that one out a little bit.
Gotcha. Yeah, and it's difficult, and we all got our fingers crossed that that some of the travel restrictions lift and things are getting better. I feel like that's coming around the corner. Everyone's very a lot of anticipation for the spring season with the lakes, and suddenly it's just a few months away. So everybody's got their fingers crossed and doing their part. We're reaching that mark now. We're just past 40 minutes where we're going to slowly walk out of the live feed, but I'm just going to ask, and I'm going to go from Kat and then to Jill, just how people can find you on social media, the shop that you work at, and maybe Kat, we'll start with you.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram or Facebook. Instagram's just Kat Laflamme, or at Kat Laflamme, and Facebook's Catherine Laflamme. I work at Michael & Young Fly Shop in Vancouver, so feel free to pop by anytime, say hi. I'm there Tuesday through Saturdays, 10 to 6 for the most part. Yeah, pretty easy.
Awesome. And Jill?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at Gill Steele _ and on Facebook just as Gill Steele. And then I work part-time right now, but in the summertime I'll be full-time at my dad's shop in North Vancouver called High Water Tackle. And I'm there usually this time of year. I'm only there a couple days a week, but in the summertime I'll be there full-time. And like we said, you can always come by and come and chat with us. We love talking. So.
Well, awesome, you guys, and thanks for taking time out tonight. It's family day, but taking time out to do this live feed for the Fishing BC live show. If you are coming in later in the feed, I was joined by Kat Laflamme and Gill Steele. They recently did a video shoot for Fishing BC with Doug Mooring up in the Caribou. It's spectacular. You can see it on the Fishing BC networks that you'll see below. Thanks again for everyone for tuning in, and we hope you have a great evening. And thanks to Jill and Kat. We'll see everybody again.
Thanks.
Thanks, Brent.
No problem. See you soon.
Bye.